Welcome to Staffworks Explain. If you're here for the first time, please consider subscribing to this channel. In this video, we're talking about Uganda Airlines, where we see that Uganda Airlines has done a Boeing gamble, where we ask whether it's a bold vision or an expensive bet. Uganda Airlines has made the biggest fleet decision in its modern history, signing the first direct aircraft order with Boeing for four 737-8 MAX aircraft and four 787-9 Dreamliners. On paper, the announcement is impressive. The airline says that the new aircraft will open more routes across Africa, Middle East, Asia, and Europe, while using up to a quarter less fuel than comparable older aircraft. The broader ambition is even bigger: to transform Entebbe International Airport into a regional aviation hub that competes with established gateways such as Addis Ababa, Nairobi, and Kigali. But buying aircraft is the easy part. Making them profitable is another matter altogether. This is not simply a story about new planes. It's about economics, competition, infrastructure, politics, and whether Uganda aviation ambitions match the realities of one of the world's most competitive industries. The questions are straightforward. Can Uganda generate enough passengers to fill these aircrafts? Can Entebbe realistically compete with airports that have spent decades building extensive networks? And what does this move mean for airlines and airports across East Africa? The answers to these questions are more complicated than headlines suggest. It's more than an aircraft purchase. The order split between two aircraft types designed for very different jobs. Boeing 737-8 MAX is a narrow-body aircraft, meaning it has a single aisle running through the cabin. These aircrafts are typically used for journeys lasting between 2 and 7 hours. Uganda Airlines intends to deploy them on a regional and medium-haul routes serving destinations across Africa, Gulf, and Asia. The Boeing 787-9 Dreamliner is a wide-body aircraft with 2 aisles and significantly greater range. It is destined for intercontinental travel, capable of flying non-stop between East Africa and destinations in Europe, Asia, and Middle East. It also carries more cargo beneath the passenger cabin, making it attractive not only for travelers but also for exporters moving high-value goods such as coffee, flowers, fish, and pharmaceuticals. The airline says both aircraft consume between 20 to 25% less fuel than comparable older generation aircrafts. That matters because fuel is often the single largest operating expense for airlines, sometimes accounting for as much as that of the total cost. Every percentage point saved on fuel translates into lower operating cost and, in theory, greater profitability. Yet, fuel efficiency alone has never guaranteed the success of an airline. The economics rarely forgive mistakes. Commercial aviation is often mistaken for glamorous business. In reality, it is an industry where margins are notoriously thin, and small miscalculation can become expensive very quickly. Aircraft represent some of the most costly assets any company can own. The new Boeing 787-9 carries a list price running into hundreds of millions of dollars, although airlines typically negotiate substantial discounts and rarely pay the published price. Even then, most carriers finance aircraft through long-term loans or leasing arrangements, spreading payments over many years. That means the aircraft must spend as much time as possible generating revenue. In aviation, a plane sitting on the ground is not simply idle. It is accumulating financing costs, insurance charges or fees, maintenance fees, as well as obligations without earning income. This is where Uganda Airlines faces its major challenge. The airline currently serves 17 destinations in 13 countries. Expanding to Europe, Asia, and the regional markets requires more than acquiring aircraft. It requires sufficient passenger demand every single day, not just during holidays or peak seasons. An aircraft that leaves Entebbe with half its seats empty quickly becomes an expensive liability. Building a hub is far harder than buying aircraft. Uganda's long-term ambition is to establish Entebbe as a regional aviation hub. The concept of a hub is simple enough. Rather than operating only direct flights between two cities, an airline brings passengers from multiple locations into one central airport, where they transfer to onward flights. This allows airlines to combine demand from many small markets and support routes that would otherwise be commercially unviable. Ethiopia Airlines perfected this model in Addis Ababa. Kenya Airways has built a similar network through Nairobi, while Rwandair continues to strengthen Kigali as a connecting point, despite operating from a relatively small domestic market. For Uganda, however, replicating that success will require much more than additional aircraft. Successful hubs depend on frequency. A traveler connecting through an airport expects shorter transfer times and multiple daily departures. If a passenger misses one flight but must wait until the following day for the next connection, the hub immediately becomes less attractive than competing alternatives. Infrastructure also matters. Passengers increasingly judge airports by efficiency rather than architecture. Fast immigration procedures, reliable baggage handling, sufficient aircraft parking, modern cargo facilities, and dependable ground services are not luxuries, they are competitive necessities. Airlines make network decisions based on these operational realities, not patriotic aspirations. Geography helps, but only to a point. Uganda enjoys a central position in East Africa. Entebbe lies within reasonable flying distance of major cities across the region, making it geographically suitable for connecting traffic. Geography, however, is only one piece of the equation. Addis Ababa became Africa's largest aviation hub, not simply because of where it sits on the map, but because Ethiopian Airlines spent decades expanding its networks, building partnerships, investing in maintenance facilities, training pilots and engineers, as well as operating hundreds of flights every day. Nairobi benefits from Kenya's larger economy, stronger business travel demand, and more developed tourism sector. Kigali has invested heavily in presenting itself as an efficient premium transit airport. Entebbe enters this contest well behind its regional competitors. That does not make success impossible. It does make it considerably more difficult. Competition will become even tougher. Uganda Airlines is entering markets already dominated by established players. Ethiopian Airlines operates one of Africa's largest network and enjoys economies of scale that allow it to spread cost across hundreds of aircrafts and destinations. Kenya Airways continue to leverage Nairobi's office as a major commercial center. Rwandair, despite its smaller size, has carefully positioned itself as a premium regional carrier. Beyond Africa, Uganda Airlines must also compete with Gulf carriers such as Emirates, Qatar Airways, whose extensive networks connects passengers to almost every destination in the world through Dubai as well as Doha. For many travelers, ticket price remains the deciding factor. That places a constraint on Uganda Airlines to offer competitive fares while simultaneously recovering the substantial costs associated with acquiring and operating new aircraft. Those two objectives do not always align. The promise of lower fuel consumption, let's look at it. The airline has highlighted that the new aircraft consume 20 to 25% less fuel than comparable older models. That is an important advantage. Modern aircrafts achieve these savings through lighter materials, more aerodynamic designs, as well as engines that extract more energy from every liter of fuel. Lower fuel consumption reduces operating cost, cuts carbon emission, and extends the distance aircraft can fly without refueling. However, these savings do not automatically translate into profitability. An airline can own the world's most efficient fuel aircraft and still lose money if passengers' demand is weak, ticket sales remain low, or operational costs elsewhere become excessive. Fuel efficiency improves the equation, does not solve it. The opportunities, however, are real. Despite these challenges, dismissing the investment outright would be equally misleading. If managed carefully, the fleet expansion offers several tangible benefits. Direct long-haul flights reduce travel times for Ugandans traveling abroad and make the country more accessible to international tourists. Reliable air connections strengthen investor confidence by making business travel easier. Cargo capacity could significantly boost exports, particularly products that depend on reaching overseas market quickly while still fresh. The tourism sector also stands to benefit. Visitors from Europe and Asia are generally more inclined to choose destinations uh, that can be reached without multiple stopovers. In that sense, aviation becomes an economic enabler rather than simply a transport service. But the risks are equally significant. Every aircraft added to a fleet increases financial exposure. The airline must recruit additional pilots, cabin crews, engineers, and maintenance personnel. Spare parts inventories expand, training requirements grow, insurance costs increase, maintenance becomes more complex. Every new destination introduces regulatory requirements, airport fees, marketing costs, and commercial risks. Unlike roads or hospitals, aircraft do not deliver public value simply because they exist. They must continuously generate sufficient revenue to justify their cost. That's why aviation analysts often describe fleet expansion as one of the highest risk investment an airline can make. Now, what's the regional implication? Uganda's expansion is likely to go unanswered. Regional airlines will be forced to reassess schedules, pricing strategies, and route networks where Uganda Airlines becomes more active. Competition generally benefits passengers through lower fares and improved services. For aircrafts, however, the picture is more nuanced. If Entebbe succeeds in attracting more traffic, competing airports risk losing passengers, airline frequencies, as well as associated revenue from landing fees, retail concessions, and cargo operations. At the same time, stronger regional competition could encourage airports across East Africa to invest further in infrastructure and passenger experience that would ultimately strengthen regional aviation sector as a whole. Now the final verdict. Uganda Airlines has not simply purchased 8 aircraft. It has committed itself to an ambitious long-term strategy that will test every aspect of commercial, financial, and operational capability. The Boeing order provides modern equipment, lower fuel consumption, and technical ability to serve new markets. What it does not provide is passengers, profitable routes, or successful hub. Those outcomes must still be earned. History offers both encouragement and caution. Africa aviation has produced remarkable success stories, but it has also seen national airlines collapse under weight of ambitious expansion and supported by commercial realities. Uganda now stands at that crossroads. Whether these aircrafts become symbols of national progress or reminders of over-ambition will depend not on the technology Boeing delivers, but on the decisions Uganda Airlines make long-term after the ribbon-cutting ceremonies have ended. So thank you for reaching this far. If you are here for the first time, please consider subscribing to this channel. You can watch other videos that we have made on airlines, airports, and other projects across Africa. So thank you, and let's meet in the next one.